Happy Friday, everybody. It's Krusty Old Crow back again to do another one of the Tactical Perspective toy reviews. It's Friday. Yeah. I say this tongue-in-cheek because Fridays mean nothing to me anymore now that I'm retired from the forces. I lose track of days. And so I use these videos as kind of the anchor points of my week. I say on Friday I'm going to buy myself a new G.I. Joe, just like I probably would have done if I had the money when I was a little kid. That's what Hasbro's done to us. That's what they did to me. This ADHD, this whole Army career veteran thing, it's like Hasbro just monitored me and went, get him now. He's got money, get him now. So yeah, that's my Friday routine, guys. Thing is, I've gotten quick enough with my Friday routines that here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, I'm pretty quick at getting the releases as they come out. So I had no problems getting a Firefly, a Grunt, had no real problems getting my hands on, who are the other two on that release? Nunchuck, Low Light, the Crimson Viper. Like a lot of these guys in the release, I'm not having a problems getting these one type of characters, these individuals. Army building gets hard. Army building's very hard. The Snow Serpent, that was something I had every plan on army building that in the Arctic Bat in preparation for a snow job diorama. Then I find out they're almost impossible to get. They're selling like wildfire. That makes you change some plans. I couldn't go out and get any of the old Cobra Infantry, the original blue grunts, sorry, not to call them grunt, or the officers, because ordering each one of them is at the max price plus shipping and handling. It's not fiscally sound to order in a whole army of those for photography, dioramas, or obsessive collecting. Army building in general has gotten harder. So what do we have? We have Python Patrol. Hang on. And that's about all I got to say about Python Patrol. And then you got the Crimson Guard, which I'm getting more and more excited about with every release. I mentioned that the GameStops are holding on to the Tomax, Emma, and Baroness Crimson Strike team. It's about 111 bucks, and at first I wasn't going to get it, and now I feel maybe, possibly, depending on how far into my Crimson rabbit hole I'm going to go. You saw a review I did on the Crimson Bat. You've seen the review on the Crimson Viper. Now you're going to see the review on number 50 of the line, the Crimson Guard himself. Elusive, more elusive than he's been in the past few months. I know you Americans down there, God love yous. You guys down south get these at $5 down at Holly's right now. Somebody mail me a whole bunch of those. I'll pay you back. That's incredible. I paid $42 Canadian. That's what, like 37 bucks American, somewhere in there, 35, for just the one. And I have a second one on hold, and I think that's where I'm going to call it on the Crimson Guard. There's a good reason why, too. I said I wanted to do army building, but I learned some stuff. You know, Joe says knowledge is half the battle, the other half being cash. But I got some knowledge today. So let's go over that box really quick. We got the old plastic style box. It's got that Cobra emblem on the background, and the cover art shows you should definitely buy at least 3 of these figures. Funny enough, to give you some little bit of knowledge just with the cover art, you see that the helmet is functional. It lights up, and the guy can get like multiple, it helps him on the battlefield apparently. It illuminates. And he's probably got comms on there, and they're breathable masks, so he can probably work in an adverse toxic environment. But more importantly, it shows him with his M16 styled rifle while he's on his communicator. But the others have other types of rifles, and this is a clever little thing Hasbro does, and says, yeah, show him with his pack rifle, and then give him some other guns. You have other guns. If you have Joe's, you have a little collection of extra weapons at this point, and that's what they're trying to tell you is feel free to put other weapons in their hands. When we get into the file card, the explanation will be clear why. On the back, you've got the wave release, that waste of packaging space. That could have been a better wave release like the one they did in the 80s where you had all the figure cover art lined up, the proof of purchase code, and then you had the file card, but I talk about that every time. Primary combat functions, number 15 in the series, enough about the box. All right, let's go over to the figure, and we'll talk about the rest of the points while we go over the head-to-toe inspection that I do for all my Joe collection. And we give him a playability and a tactical grade. But at that time, I'm also going to be talking about his file card and the discussion points about what relevance does this guy have in an army. All right, let's go over to Cobra Island, the one set piece that I am not moving inside because of its sheer mass this year. It'll stay out here all winter, as far as I'm concerned, and we'll get that camera just up a notch. And if I have too many problems with the camera stand again this time, guys, I'm just gonna freehand it because I'm just trying to keep one hand free so I can point to some stuff here. All right, I think that's as good as I need to get for right now. I'll move them closer when there's points to discuss. All right, so the head to toe inspection really quick. You got the helmet. And you can see, just like on the box, it's got that slitted visor. They've just used the same silver paint that they used for the slits in the mask for the respirator and whatever that top design is. I thought that would be like their NVG mount. I guess it's a Mars pattern version of that. He's got that raised collar with those collar dogs. This is a very formally dressed Cobra soldier, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the file card a little bit. But that does affect the head articulation. That with the helmet will affect the up-down movement and a little bit of the side dip. But overall, the head articulation is about what you'd expect with the classified series. It's fine. You know the give and takes and where they're going to happen at this point. Moving down the chest, this is where one of the give and takes that I often talk about on my reviews is really good. And that is they didn't... Okay, because it's a ceremonial dress, it's a single layer. And because he has just a single layer, you have no backpack obstruction drills here. It's as simple as that. And so the chest articulation is one of the more freer moving chest articulations you can get. And I just knocked his scabbard off, but we'll do that. So you can see he's got that full dip and bend. All the good stuff going on there. And no real pin gap, because it's an older style. They kind of were using the harder plastic on that pin, I think. And so you got a really good torso going on with this particular figure. All right. Oh, there goes the camera. We'll just leave them there and I'll get out my pointer for some more of this stuff. Let me find a pointer and let me put on my Crimson Dollar Store glasses, because that's all I'll wear, guys. That's the explanation as the shitty glasses that you see me wearing and the wacky stuff you see me wear. My glasses come from the dollar store because I'm a cheap old man. Rather spend my money on Joe's and glasses. Gonna turn off that Blue Rodeo music, my Canadian music that I was listening to today on this beautiful gray, rainy Friday. All right, moving down the chest, you can see another reason why I say this is formal dress. He's got these shoulder flashes. Just denoting that he is Crimson Guard, the off gray with the black triangle there. And that's pretty much all they are. And then he's got his lanyard over his right shoulder. A very officer appeal to this guy, which when I read the file card out will make more and more sense as we go along. But you're starting to pick up a very regal demeanor to this guy. As you go down that chest, you're going to see that silver breast stitching. They like a separate cloth piece. And if you were to pay attention, once you get this guy in your hands, and I'll get him a little closer for a sec, there is a texture difference between the arms and the chest. There you can kind of get at it a little bit in the light. Just a slight texture difference between the two fabrics that this guy is wearing. Again, just little things you know when you pick them up. Let's talk about that silver Cobra emblem. At least I know who he works for. But more importantly, to the right of that, as you're looking at it, is something that lends conversation again. And that is, it's like a rank insignia and a citation of some sort, stitched to his breast or affixed to his breast. And this is again where I go into, clearly he's in a formal dress. This is his formal attire. Right? Like other trades have, you know, you got the ones you wear in a combat, and then you got the ones you wear when you parade in front of your commanders. And that's this one, the parade dress. Clearly, he's got his pins and ribbons going. And then if you were to follow that arm line down, you would see old Captain Crimson Guard here has... In Canada, these are our captain stripes, right? Our old way of denoting captain stripes on a dress uniform. So, and I know other nations have that same thing. So I'm getting a very officer feel, and I'm getting a very parade feel. When I get into the black parts of the uniform, so I'm going to move down the chest. I've talked about all that. Let's talk about that belt and those gloves, for example. And we might as well throw the holster and the sheaths in there as well. The black leather that they're using. Okay, this is a humble little thing, but it makes a wide difference for the feel of the character. All right, you could have recycled any holster, you could have done anything here, you had lots of designs by the time you got to 50 in the figure line, but they went with that nice patent leather, right? Very nice leather holster. You can see that it carries over to the straps. The belt is meant to reflect all of that, right? And then the sword scabbard, same thing, even down to the boots. We don't need the stand. Stand didn't come with them anyways. Those are great cavalry boots, and the little Zippo pouch or knife pouch or whatever he's got in there, message pouch. It's all leather, right down to the backpack. You get that leather appeal on the backpack as well, right? Leather ain't cheap, boys. I'm assuming it's fake leather. Nonetheless, this is all very formal. What isn't formal, and I'm going to keep working down the legs, are those knee pads. So Hasbro's got they've got a system. We all know about it. We know about their hinge system. We like that they learned to hide their pins. We understand that you're going to see the points of articulation in some form or another on these characters. When you try to blend the color of the knee hinge joints with the leg hinge joints, it's a gamble on how it looks in the end. I think the Crimson Guard, it doesn't draw a lot of eyes to it, but when it does, being a contemplative ex-soldier that I am, it lends a bit of confusion, because if you look at the design of those pads, and I'll move it a little closer for a second, these are more motorbike, motocross, tactical protection, knee protection, right? And yeah, it's blended into that red so you don't notice it, but clearly it is meant to be a pad design. And then it's, well, why do you need pads with a formal dress? Maybe because he's tactically ready to react. Maybe because when he's in his formal dress, he is also doing VIP escort and all that other stuff. And the pads help. And I'm like, okay, sure. They're the one hard pack protection you can notice on him outside of the helmet. But why didn't you stay with a simple black? Why didn't you stay with a simpler design when everything else is that formal, elegant design? I mean elegant in that it's more for show than it is for purpose. When it gets all that, it looks all subtle and tasteful. And then this stands right out as off outside the norm for that figure, those knee pads. Again, I love the boots. And so that head to toe, we're just going to complete it by showing you some of those accessories, okay? So one very point is when we get into the file card quickly, the accessories make sense for the pistol. This interestingly well done combat knife, and pardon me if I just wrench that out of the sheath and lay him down, because eventually they're all going to be laying down. But if we have a look at that knife, it's got that snake head hilt, and then it's got that little tang on there for knife fighting, right? So again, kind of cool little tactical knife. I'm surprised we didn't see more like that with other Cobra figures after this came out. And then, so that even makes sense when we get into the file card and what this guy actually is. Same as his M16 variant rifle there. So in Canada, this would be the equivalent of our C7A2 in that it's a C7 rifle, which was designed off the M16 that the Americans had, made by Fabrique Nationale, I believe. And yeah, it was. Anyways, but when we got to the A2s, we made a lighter variant with the retracting stock, that we changed the foregrip slightly, and just dual ambidextrous cocking handles and safety switches, all that other stuff, right? This is very much reminiscent of that, the design. And then it's got the bayonet fixed to it, which that is another parade thing, guys. Unless you are storming in G.I. Joes that are dug into a defensive position with trenches everywhere, unless you're charging in poorly dressed for close combat heyday with that big old sword, the idea of having a fixed bayonet is strictly for a drill ceremony. Same as that saber. The saber is a very officer thing in most militaries, and so you definitely get that feel with this guy for sure, right? And the saber is the one piece of kit really that makes me go, okay, why though? Now it's starting to make less and less sense. So having said that, while you look at that, and you do notice that he does fit in well with the other Crimson releases that are going on, does make me want to buy that Crimson Strike team just looking at all that red now. I'm going to quickly go over the file card with you. So when you guys got this figure as a kid, he probably came to you something a little like that, near and about. So I think that's probably one of the reprints, more recent, but not the original, but maybe it's the original. I don't remember. I don't even remember if I had him towards the end, guys. It was back when I was discovering lighter fluid and massive Vietnam-style wars in my backyard at 13. So the file card looked like that. And this is where we get into the conundrum of the Cobra Elite Trooper. So let's read it. I'll read it to you. Okay, while you gaze upon him. And notice how cool that helmet from the Crimson, or from the Arctic Bat looks on the Crimson Bat, by the way. I talked about that in the last review, and it has since caught on like wildfire. Lots of other people are discovering it for themselves, not from me, but it does look cool. Anyways, this isn't about the Crimson Bat. Let's get that guard more forward. Get your arm out of his path. And let's hope he stands up. Or we'll just lean him. There we go. Good enough. So, these guys come from a variety of different countries, but their primary specialty, and this is where I start having issues, is undercover espionage. Okay? From various countries with a secondary specialty in demolitions. All right, guys, if this is starting to have a little itch in the back of your cerebral cortex as something very familiar from recent events, think about just what everybody was looking for after 9/11, guys. These are terrorist cells that lay dormant on various countries' soil, and they are building bombs. They are looking for ways to bring an establishment down. They are terrorists. The write-up for them says the Crimson Guard are elite shock troops of the Cobra Legions, and all Crimson Guards must be college graduates, as well as being in top physical conditions. Okay, I'm going to talk about that later. It goes on to say final stages of training take place in the deepest recesses of Cobra headquarters, and is purported to involve an initiation ceremony too hideous for description. Guys, I'm ex-military, 25 years. There are so many dark jokes I could put on the internet right now and get shut down for the idea of hideous initiation ceremonies. And a lot of people would probably lose their opinion of me based on that dark humor. Nonetheless, let's talk about being a college graduate. So the fuck what? Pardon my language. So what? So what if they're college graduates? Guys, officers here and up in the north anyways, we're looking for that university degree, that college degree. A lot of our regular soldiers have that. All we're asking for, I guess, in the Crimson Guard is that you're able to stick to it and have a specialty in something when we go to put you undercover. And that is the big part of this. Let's focus on undercover for a second, because this is where the narrative goes. On the last part of the card, it says, Crimson Guardmen are too precious to be wasted on the conventional battlefield. They are dispersed about the country in deep cover, assuming apparently normal appearances and lifestyles. Watch out, that friendly new neighbor of yours might just have a red uniform hanging in their closet. So what we are looking at here, guys, with this figure, and I'm going to go just live hand it right now. This is a rare sight that we shouldn't be seeing. If we wanted a true Crimson Guard representation, there would be two other representations. It would be Johnny Average figure that looks like the guy that works in the office down the road. And then there would be a Crimson battle dress, very similar to this guy for when they're fighting. We are getting a snapshot of this guy in the one thing he ever has for a uniform, which is what he parades with 2 nights a month at Cobra headquarters in this thing. And the rest of the time he's dressed like you and I. Right? Laying low and getting intel. So the thing that gets me about it is, okay, so I can understand how Johnny Average might own a pistol like that. I can understand how an American gun enthusiast could get their hands on one of those rifles at some point in their lives and maybe just didn't relinquish it with new gun control laws, whatever state they're living in, etc. Maybe that sword's just an heirloom or a novelty they have hanging on the wall, same as that knife. I don't know, right? I can justify all of that stuff, but the idea of these guys forming a unit confuses me, right? So on the box, we see them. They're in a unit. They're fighting together. Why would you pull 3 deep cover assets out of cover in strategic positions where they're gaining you information, gaining you intel, and gaining you an advantage for a possible future strike, and you form them up as a fighting unit? Why? All you've done is, if they get killed, and worse yet, their bodies are, the helmets are taken off, then all that information is useless now. The enemy now knows you have it. It's compromised. So useless information. Why did you ever put these guys into cover? I get that you gave them college degrees in specific fields, so you could give them cover. But then why then do they need to be a fighting force? I am looking at an action figure that is strictly for parade night, VIP escort, and honestly, they are Tomax and Zaymont or Baroness or Destros status symbol. It's their entourage to show everybody they're worth it, you know. But tactically, this is a snapshot. 2 nights a month we see them in this dress. The rest of the time we don't even know this guy exists. That's my opinion on that whole write-up right there, right? So it doesn't really jive with the whole... I think what it is Hasbro was so looking for that dangerous, deep operative kind of explanation, and it was pre-9/11 when they did it. But then they didn't really think it through when they want to show them in these massive fighting forces, whether that is a viable or fiscally responsible way to run a military. It's not, especially not when you're dabbling in espionage at the same time as being a frontline fighting unit. Not going to happen. Anyways, that, like I said, that's my tactical perspective on the Crimson Guard guy. On a playability grade, guys, I am giving this thing solid A. I'm going to go solid A+. Why? Because he comes with the right amount of accessories for you to either make them look like an infantry soldier or all like guards. They all have that uniformity, but you could just give 1 the saber and the pistol and 2 the rifle, and you could denote a rank structure going on within a cell of these guys. They jive so well with the Crimson stuff that's already out. Perfectly good, perfectly great as far as the playability and intercompatibility. For you dioramists and photographers, I mean, the story tells itself, and you guys are well familiar with this, and you know that if you guys do miss the boat on getting more than 2 or 3 of these, the retro card is slightly different, but there's your one unique guy or whatever if you want to army build off those. They'll be available soon, I think, here in Canada. You guys in the States probably already have them. Who knows? The way I see it, you guys are probably selling them at $1.99 at local convenience stores these days. Who knows? So the playability grade, definitely an A+ on all that. And the tactical grade, listen, if I grade this guy on a formally attired officer for a parade night, and by parade, I don't mean they're marching down the streets with elephants and clowns. I mean they are formed up in their ranks in front of their commander, reporting their numbers and getting a brief. This is almost a perfect parade dress with the exception of those knee pads. That tactical would be an A+. Hard. But when I read the file card and realize that these are undercover agents and now they're being loaded out as frontline soldiers, and that doesn't really make sense to me, the tactical sense starts going down to a B+. But what are you going to do? I already really like the figure. I'm glad I bought it. I'm glad I'm getting another one. So I'm going to keep it at a B+. A+, playability, B+, tactical on the average there. And then I'm going to also say for army building, I'm definitely going to go A+, army building grade. There's a lot you can say about this figure and its availability right now and where the Crimson Guard are going and what they all look like, guys. So that's about it there. My Crimson Guard reserve officer, or whatever you want to call him, love it. Being a deep cover operative, I have changed my perspective on army building him. I was going to get 5 to 6 of these guys at some point, hopefully. But now I'm only looking at maybe getting 2, because if I'm running my Cobra contingent, and somebody mentioned that in the comments, your Joe World, your Cobra World.
what you picture them all as. If I'm running mine, I'm not pulling deep cadre operatives out of here just for a parade night. And I'm certainly not putting them on the front line unless they're caught with their pants down. It's a chance close contact. That's it. Anyways, guys, that's been the Tactical Perspective. I've been the Krusty Crow. If you like this video, you know what to do. You hit that like button. Thank you. If you really like it and you're new to the channel, please press subscribe. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate all of you following along and going on this little indulgence of mine with me. And guys, if you have anything to say about the Joes, or you want to show off your Joe collection or show off some stuff that you've been doing about your Joes, just go ahead, take photos and do that in the comments, because you know I love it. You know, you've seen my videos. You know I like to build stuff. I've got like more than one hovercraft on the go at this point. I've got the Joe collection. I've got scenery coming. I've got another big old hovercraft over there. It's I love the creativity and the imagination that comes with our childhoods, guys. And there is nothing wrong with seeing it come back when you're adults. Hit me up in the comments if you agree. I'll talk to you guys later. Until then, knowing's half the battle. Remember, the other half is cash. I've been Krusty Old Crow. See ya.